For the example Factorial ANOVA, I want to take you through an SPSS output rather than going through calculations on factorial, which can get kind of complicated. Let's go through an actual example of the results and see if you can, to help you to be able to read an SPSS output of the Factorial ANOVA. So for this example, it's a study that was conducted, that I conducted, that looks at the impact of apologies and harm removal on people's ratings, basically on their social aggression of another individual. Let me set up this study very quickly. So participants, they came in, they thought they were participating in a study that was looking at the Mozart effect, that listening to Mozart makes you smarter. So what happened is they sat in a room with an overhead projector, and I had a research assistant in the room, and I told the participants that they were going to get 24 items, IQ items, but that they were fairly easy and that they should do pretty well on it. So I'm kind of setting them up there. And then the research assistant presented these items on an overhead projector, and for 7 of them, the research assistant made some kind of mistake so that the participant would have gotten the wrong answer or wouldn't have been able to make an answer, such as putting it up, putting the overhead on upside down, or putting it up and taking it off too fast. So it's because this was a timed test as well. When I came back into the room to look at the results, I'd look at the results and I'd say, "Oh, I thought she would have done better on this than that." That's the harm to the individual. And so from there, they were randomly assigned to one of 4 different conditions of how things they were responded to. It was either that they could have received received an apology right away from the research assistant, that the research assistant would say in front of me, "No, it wasn't. It was my fault that they scored this way," and then make an apology to the participant. So that means there's a public apology, and that the harm has been removed, because I no longer think that they're not. But it's no longer that I think they're not bright anymore. They could have received an apology. It could have been in this other condition to where I say I thought they would have done better than that, and then I say, "You know what, I forgot something." I step out of the room, and then the research assistant makes an apology to the individual. So the participant gets an apology, but the harm is not removed. I still don't know that they did poorly because of the research assistant. A third condition was to where I make the comment about not performing well, and then I say, "Come back to my office," and they're going to fill out a few questionnaires. And on my way, I say, "Something looks wrong about this. Did something happen in there?" And then the participant always was quick to tell me that my research assistant screwed up. So in that case, they didn't receive an apology from the research assistant, but the harm is removed. I no longer think that they're not bright. And then the final condition is no apology or no harm removed. Basically, let's go back to my office, and then I found I had to walk pretty fast there because this participant usually would want to tell me how stupid my research assistant was. And we'd get back to the office, they would fill out this questionnaire. So all participants at the end went back to my office to fill out the questionnaire, and there was a series of items that were kind of related to the Mozart effect that didn't really matter to the study. They were kind of filler items. The one big item that we were looking at the end was, I told them that the research assistant was doing this research project for a grade, and that part of their grade would be the ratings that participants gave the research assistant. So the ratings were of how the skills of a psychologist, of the research assistant, it'd be from 0 to 100. 0 is very poor to 100 excellent, and so that rating would end up impacting the research assistant's grade. So that's what this is. This is that rating, and in essence, it's a measure of social aggression. That is, if you want to take it out on the research assistant, that's the time to be able to do it. Everything else, in essence, is held constant except for the treatment effect, and then they make this the treatment that they're in, then they make this rating. So this is a rating. A lower score means they're more aggressive towards the research assistant. So you can see here that in the apology condition, they gave higher ratings on average to the research assistant. There was less social aggression, if you will. Then in the no apology condition, you see that there's lower ratings here. We don't know if that's statistically significant or not yet, but we do know, we can see that there's differences there. We can also see that there's not a lot of differences in terms of the harm removal here, and there's a little bit here for the harm removal, and we get the overall ratings here for the differences in the harm removal to look at the impact of that. This next part is the ANOVA table. So when we look through the ANOVA table, we ignore the intercept here. This corrected model is just that we've got 4 conditions, so the degrees of freedom are 3. We've got the overall there, but what we really focus on is here. Okay, so we're looking at the apology condition. Here's the sum of squares for the apology condition. Degrees of freedom are 1, right? Because it's just yes or no. There's two groups there, so 2 minus 1 is 1. Here's the mean square, so the sum of squares divided by degrees of freedom is the mean square. And then we have the F ratio. How do we calculate the F ratio was to take this mean square for the apology divided by the error that's listed here. Okay, or a lot of times we talk about that as the mean square within. So 1,894 divided by 173.5 would give you 10.911. And you'll notice that's the same here for the harm removal condition. We've got a much lower mean square here for the harm removal. And then for the interaction between the two, it's very low there for the interaction as well. We look at the F ratios. We've got a pretty large F ratio here for the apology condition, much smaller for the other two. And then when we look at the significance level, we see here it's less than 0.05. And so for this one, we would reject the null hypothesis, okay? And for these, we would retain, right? They're above 0.05. And that makes sense because these F ratios were very small as well that we see here. Okay, so basically the results off of this, in looking at this apology condition, that there is a significant difference here, that when an apology was made, they were significantly more likely to give higher rating as compared to when no apology was given. The harm removal, this mean difference, which is small, that's not statistically significant. And then the interaction, remember the interaction, we're looking at the numbers in between here, and the interaction isn't significant as well. From this we can draw out the interaction. And when we draw out the interaction, sorry for these 4 lines here that I have, we take one of the conditions and put it down here. We could put the apology condition here and no apology. And then up here, let's say we'll have circle representing harm removed and square as no harm removed. And then as we go through for our apology condition, we've got our dependent variable here. So we can start at 70, 75, 80, 85, 90. And so apology condition, harm removed, that mean was 85.08. So that's roughly about right here. For the apology condition, no harm removed, 87. So that's roughly about right there, just a little bit above it. The no apology, harm removed, would be 71. And then 76 for the no apology, no harm removed. We put these lines together, we connect these lines, and we see just by connecting these lines that there isn't much of an interaction. There isn't really an interaction at all that exists between the apology and the harm removal. And that's what we saw here as well in this F ratio, that it was not a significant difference that existed there. So our overall result is that the apology, no matter if it was a public apology, which would be here, or a private apology, help to reduce the social aggression in this particular experiment.